My name's Sasha Pete, and I'm joined by a fantastic individual, none other than the great Socceroo and Melbourne victory legend, Carl Valeri. Welcome, Carl, to this conversation.
Thanks, Dash. Thanks for having me.
So tell us, Carl, how did you fall in love with our great game?
It was at a very young age, actually. Geez, my father played, so I was naturally always going to his games and watching his teams play. I was lucky to be the youngest of three children, and my brother and I were always out in the backyard playing. And you know what? I'll be honest, we were playing every sport. It wasn't just soccer, or football as we know it. We used to play. I grew up in Canberra, so we used to play rugby league in the backyard. We used to play cricket. We used to play tennis. We played everything. And I think the main point is we're outside all the time and we're always active. Obviously, football was my focal point. It was something that my dad loved, and naturally, it just passes through the family. I grew up watching Italy. I grew up watching Serie A on a Sunday morning. So I just love playing it.
It's interesting how the little ones catch up to their elders. So do you find trying to compete against the older siblings that competitive edge that ended up paying off?
Definitely. I was constantly battling my brother. I always had to, whether it be wrestling in our bedrooms or arguing, and my sister to some degree. I probably had to use my intellect a bit more with my sister. But we're always competing against each other. And I think that was great, having that rivalry between siblings and it really put us in a good spot as we kind of grew up together. And, to this day, our relationship right now. And I firmly believe that was a bonus for me, being able to play against him all the time. I think that, created me today, what I am and how I go about things.
So we know you ended up progressing to the AIS, but talk to me about those social formal years of playing junior soccer. So what was your Boy Town club in Canberra?
Yeah, so I started off at Tuggeranong United, and that's where my juniors, just the local soccer club down the road. That's where my brother played. I just had parents coaching me the whole way through. I think what was evident that I loved it, and I thrived when I was playing. I just loved every moment of it, and still to this day, I love playing. It's the only time, I always say to people, it's the only time I don't think about anything else. I'm always in life. You just think about things all the time. But when I'm playing football, I could be dying tomorrow, and it wouldn't make a difference to me. I wouldn't be thinking about it. So from a young age, that was the case. And I think my parents were a big support, and not in the fact, like, my dad was a significant figure in, he ended up being president of Canberra Football, I think it was called back then. But it wasn't, he was like a new age kind of father. A lot of fathers back in our time were very pushy. You got to do this. You got to, always all over you. My parents just let me be. They just were there. They took me everywhere. They never said no to any football tournament. They, although we weren't a wealthy family, we were wealthy in other areas, such as, Sunday dinners with our family. We had strong values. And those things were evident in my childhood. That kind of just love. And it wasn't because I was good at football. It wasn't because my brother, my brother got all the same opportunities I got. My sister would have if she wanted to play, but football back in the day for females just wasn't as big as it is today. So essentially, that was my childhood, just between football, my dad and my mother guiding me through, but never pushing me in any direction. There was never, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I felt like I could have said to my parents, I'm not playing football anymore, and they would have supported me. I think that support fundamentally is what got me to be going overseas at such a young age, at 17, going to Inter Milan.
You by that stage, you gravitated to the middle of the park, but where did you spend most of your time in your junior ranks? Was it in the what was it, a variety of positions?
I actually kind of was always a defensive midfielder. I always started off as a defensive midfielder, and sometimes played as a central defender at the back. I felt like a turning point, is around that 12 to 13 years where you really are defined in your physical characteristic as well. So your physical capability, sorry. Up until then, you can kind of play every position because, if you're fast, you can run a lot, you're tall, you're short, you can kind of play every position. But once you hit that 13-year-old, you kind of becomes position specific, your role in the team. And as a 13-year-old, I think my ACT coach at that time, we did all the testing, the physical testing, and I could run a lot, and I still can to this day. So he said, okay, well, with your leadership style and the way you play, you're going to be a center midfielder, defensive midfielder. So that's where it began, the journey of the defensive midfielder. I wish it was more attacking. Don't get me wrong. I wish I was playing number 10 because it's a bit more exciting up there. But very thankful that that was identified at an early age because I was able to really hone in on it and work on the minute details, which when I went overseas were the difference in me being successful.
So it's interesting now when you sort of the roles that you're involved in, obviously director at Melbourne Victory, involved at your local soccer club there at Gisborne. But was leadership, and so throughout your playing career, you had these big leadership roles, particularly, I remember your time here in Melbourne at Victory, but was it evident in your early teens or teenage that you would take on those leadership characteristics?
I I think so. At the time, obviously, you don't know because you're so young. But looking back, I can say yes, because I figured out at an early age that my strengths, sorry, I should say, my strengths, I figured out at an early age. I knew that, keeping it simple, working hard for the team, it puts me in good stead with the coach. And the team respects that, and the team needs that to be successful. And for me to be successful, I needed the team to be successful. So I figured that out at a young age. So naturally, getting the most out of the people around me meant that I would be successful and the team would be successful. So figuring that out early is something really important, knowing your strengths and obviously working on your weaknesses. Like I knew I wasn't technically gifted like some of the other players around me, and it didn't stop me from working on it every day. Right up to my last days at Melbourne Victory, most days before training, I'd be juggling the ball against the wall to work on my touch. I think that's something important, knowing your strengths and working on your weaknesses. Also, improving on those strengths. I did lots of leadership, discoveries with people. I asked a lot of questions, and it was really tested when I went to Italy because I was used to being, a leader, so to speak, a big fish. And went to Italy, and that wasn't the case. That first year there, it really rocked me. It really tested my resilience. And it would have been easy to bail out and come back home because the A-League was starting up around then. I think Ernie Merrick was calling my dad, knocking on my door to come back home. But, my resilience, and I guess it was a testament to the strong family values that my parents instilled on me, and my brother and my sister and my whole family, to be honest, and my friends all contributed to that.
So you touched on your dad early in the conversation. I mean, so Walter played in the NSL. He would have had a lot of mates. To talk to me about who are you sort of looking up to as you're growing up? Now you're seeing people play. You're playing with the state team later on. Get selected at the AIS. So where's your sort of mind gravitating to, say, either the colleagues that your dad played with or people that were playing in the old National League?
They were obviously an important part of my life, but socially, like I said, that support network that we had was massive, and still to this day. My dad still catches up with everyone from then. When we went through hard times, when my mother passed away last year, they were all there to support us. And that's the type of support that we had. As for mentors growing up, I guess I was lucky because, I had my older brother who was constantly challenging me. So he was a natural mentor. I obviously had my parents there. But one thing that I did throughout my career was and not by design. I think it just turned out because I was mature, because I was physically capable. I always played from about 13 onwards. I always played up age groups. So
Was it 1 year,
I was
2 years? What was the?
I think when I got to under 15s, maybe under 15s, I was playing at the ACT Academy of Sport back then, which was playing against, all the youth teams from every club and the AIS. So the age group was 2 years older than me. So I'd be constantly playing against the best players from the ACT that are 2 years older than me. So that was a constant challenge. So, when I think about, you might not remember it, but Stephen Kemp, he was someone that I played with in midfield, and, he was a mentor for that portion of my life. And I went to the OAS 2 years earlier than everyone. So then I had a group, so I had a group of players just because I was in Canberra, Steve O'Connor and Mike Milanovic and then Ray Juna obviously guided me into that AIS system a little bit earlier. I guess because they could see potential and wanted to harness it. And it worked because I was playing against people, and, every one of those players I played with became my mentor. I was constantly learning off those around me. I think that was what put me in good stead going forward. And at 15 in clubland, I was playing under 19. And that's probably the second time my dad coached me in my career. So that was really cool. We're playing, it was almost like our ACT team joined Gangala Juventus at the time. And we entered the team in as the under 19, which was awesome. And we ended up winning the competition. But that obviously, it was great to have my dad coach me, win the competition, and be involved at a club where my dad was a part of as well.
Yeah, sounds brilliant. I mean, AIS, what a fantastic finishing school. Talk to me about some of the characters that were in the dormitories with you that year.
Oh, well, I was lucky. I never had to sleep there. And it's hard. Like, when I look back, I know every one of them, but because I was there, I came in early, I played my age group, and I left late. I spent, about 5 years at the AIS in total. So I went in as a 5 years is wrong. 14, 15, so 4 years in total at the AIS. So I got to capture 3 different intakes, which was awesome, and watch them all and learn from them. I think the first year I was kind of training with was like the Lubo Milicevic year, and then obviously went into my age group, which was Matey Mackay, Matt Anstey, Alex Brosk, some of the players, and then left later on. So with Nick Stavroulakis, I think he was there at the end. I can't remember. It's honestly all.
Yeah, so
sorry, go.
You've called out some fantastic individuals and some really cool characters as well. So you obviously got identified early, making the under 17 Australian side. And then through the ranks, ended up playing over 50 caps for the Socceroos. So, wearing the green and gold sort of came to you at a very, very young age. And you went, I think you went to the Athens Olympics, is that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We got being identified early was definitely a bonus. And, people say, all the time, and, I speak to a lot of parents, and they think it's about who you know and what you're doing, but it's not. It's about the individual. Like, people don't bend over backwards because they know you. It's not the way it works. People don't go out on a limb because they know you. People go out on a limb because they can see your work ethic. They can see what you stand for, and they're willing to take a chance on you. And it's not a chance, it's an educated bet, because they can see the potential there because of your work ethic. And then there's talent. There's also a talent that is attached to that. But work ethic is key. And that's what I tell every young kid who hates it when they say, oh, what does it take to be successful? I say, work your ass off. Work hard. I go, if you don't have that, you can't get it. And, even to today with my kids, I let them be. I'm very similar to my dad. Because if they don't have that passion and love for the game, then when they get time to put on the green and gold jersey, they won't get to there because you've got to
Mm.
love the game because it treats you cruelly. It's a hard game. It's
Mm.
cruel at times. And if you don't
Mm.
love it, you
Yeah,
won't succeed
sure.
and you won't be putting that hard work. But I guess my journey to the green and gold was phenomenal. I got to play every level for Australia. There was a time there when we were playing in the 17s. I remember Brett Holman and I, who I'm still close with, we were actually called into Frank Farina's national team at 17, 16
Okay.
years of age. We're actually called in. I think we're going to play a friendly match in the Solomon Islands. Now, I may be wrong, but the game got called off because there was the threat of war or a
Okay.
conflict there. So we didn't end up going. But if it wasn't for that conflict, and we probably would have gone over and potentially have made our debut at 17 for the Socceroos.
Mm.
It didn't work out that way. It was still awesome to be a part of it. And we ended up progressing through the national teams together. And under 17s in Trinidad and Tobago, Ange Postecoglou as coach. Under 20s with Ange Postecoglou as coach, and then on to the 23s, which was the Olympic team with Frank Farina. And that was a great experience. Again, for the 20s and the 23s, I was younger than everyone, but it was still, again, I think, my desire and my, I guess, player maturity. I wouldn't say I was mature off the pitch, but my playing maturity, I
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so like if I think about towards the end of your career, you always seem to cover a fair amount of ground.
Mm.
Played simple, but I mean productive. But you also, I mean, it's hard to tell from the stands, but you were also barking a lot of orders. So was that
Yeah.
was that was that part of your DNA? Is that when you hop on the pitch, you try to be that puppeteer in midfield, making sure you've got the right balance, the right shape, and neutralising opposition, ensuring that shape helps you get the 3 points?
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And that's, again, something that Italy taught me well. I think in my younger years, I would still try and bark orders, but it was more, more motivational. Come on, we need more out of you, for example. And, I was able to say that to everyone because I was the hardest worker on the pitch and I knew I was. So anyone who questioned me would be,
Mm,
be like, well, I'm working my ass off, are you? Type of situation. And it was
mm,
never the case. I had a good relationship with most of my teammates. And Italy, Italy's very technical, tactical game.
mm.
And every player, not Serie A players, yes, but right down to the non-professionals in Serie D. And you're talking a pool of thousands of players. They're all tactically very clever. Some better than others. So I had to be the type of
Mm,
player I was. If I wanted to be different over there, I had to be smarter and
mm.
think quicker and work harder than everyone. And that's what I did. And it complemented a lot of the senior players who were more technically gifted than me. It complemented them, so they would love playing me and they would insist on playing with me, which coaches loved. And I think that was evident throughout my career. I only played for a handful of clubs, and
Was it the
that. Sorry, go.
Yeah, so was it the green and gold to give you the impetus to have an overseas call? Was there any other countries other than Italy spark an interest? What was the obviously your ethnic background, but what was the how did it sort of eventuate in terms of the call from overseas to then end up going?
Yeah, well, it was an interesting time because NFL was, I think Parramatta Power was just starting up, and there's a couple of pathways I could have taken. I was playing, regular football with AIS, and I mean Parramatta Power were contacting me and asking if I wanted to, sign a contract there and go play there. And I kind of, I was mature for my age. I did figure out early that, you know, I needed to be mature as a person off the field as well. So in discussion with my parents, I kind of said, well, I want to go overseas. And we figured out that if I did go overseas, it could hinder your chances just because of, buying and selling. You're more likely to get overseas if you're a free agent. And essentially I was. So I stayed a free agent. I didn't go Parramatta Power. I waited till I was 17. I trialled out in Southampton with Jay Lucas, and it was not where I wanted to be. I'll be honest. I didn't want to go to Southampton. I wanted to be in Italy, and went to the under-17s World Cup, and Nathan Coe and I were picked in the FIFA World 11.
Oh,
And so I was already on,
that's pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah, it was pretty good. It's not, you don't get a trophy or anything, but it's an accolade that, it's pretty cool at that time. We were already on the books for Inter Milan, and after receiving that notice, they made an offer straight away, pretty much. So within, I think, 24 hours, we both had 3-year deals at Inter Milan,
Yep.
which was exciting and where I wanted to be.
Did you then get to go and train at Inter Milan? How did it
Yeah.
work?
So I first went over for 6 weeks, or no, sorry, 6 weeks is too long. Probably 3 weeks, just to get a feeling for the club before I went over permanently. So I was 17 at that time, and yeah, got a good feel for it. Met a few key individuals, trained a bit, came home, and then yeah, just before my 18th birthday, made the big move over to Italy. And yeah, like I said, it was hard. Nothing. I don't think anything I could have done in Australia would have prepared me for that big of a shock.
Mm.
Just the sheer competitiveness at training, like it was just unaccepted that you lose a game at training, or you let your team down at training just by not doing the right thing, or trying something you should have, or not working hard. That was a given at training. You just couldn't let your guard down for 1 second. And I loved it. It took me 2-3 months to get used to it. 2-3 months after that to kind of get to their level of intensity and training. And then, before I knew it was the back end of the season, and there was light at the end of the tunnel, and I could say, hey, I've got this. The
Mm.
next year I came into pre-season, and I established myself as a leader at the team, and kind of I captained the team a bit towards the end. My Italian was better. I was more confident, and that showed in my game, and I think throughout the season for our team.
So is this like in the twos, in an age group, or what? At what level are you playing at
So
Inter?
that was Primavera. So that's the second team. So you've
Second
got
team.
your first team, and then you've got the Primavera. The second year, I was training regularly with the first team, so that was
Yeah.
quite cool. I mean, you're talking about,
What are the names of the dressing rooms? Just like
oh, geez, the names in the dressing rooms. There was Christian Vieri, Adriano,
okay,
um, you know, Zanetti,
yeah, these
Materazzi.
are, these are like
Yeah,
still
these are good. So I
Sasha.
played. I played a friendly match, and we played against. We played in
How
Florence.
old was Zanetti roughly? He would have been towards the end of his career.
No, no, he still
No?
had another few years in him. Yeah.
Okay,
So I played with both Zanetti. So Christian and Zanetti, who was the Italian, and Javier was the Argentinian.
okay.
But Crespo was there. There's some great players.
Wow. So
We
how
uh,
would they
we
do
we
crazy?
we
Would Crespo do crazy stuff at training?
No, no, he was
No.
pretty. He was a solid player. He knew how to play his position well. He wasn't.
Okay.
He just scored goals. That's
Okay.
essentially what he did. He was, I guess, Argentinian people in Zaghi, where he's just banging goals. But Adriano and Vieri were quite amazing to play with, just because the sheer size of them and the way they
Yeah.
moved was incredible. But yeah, played a friendly match. I remember it was. I lined up. I started the match with Di Biagio, Luigi Di Biagio in midfield there. So it was pretty amazing, having playing with someone I used to watch at all the Italian tournaments, playing alongside him at this
Yeah.
friendly match with Crespo up top, and Materazzi behind me. It was pretty impressive, and yeah, a
Yeah.
memory that I'll cherish forever.
And so how does it work? The coaching staff say to you, look, we think that through your development and your progression, we need you to get first team football at this level. What's the conversation like? How old are you? Walk me through that process, and do you have any say in the matter?
No, you don't. You don't get anything. It's all coach driven. So we're training with the Primavera playing, and obviously they saw that, okay, well, he could benefit from being part of the first team. So I'd go and train with the first team. And the first team, it was Hector Cooper at the time. Obviously, he has the ultimate say. So if he obviously liked what he saw because he kept me in at training, and he said, no, I want him to keep coming to training. So, that's a good feeling. And but football is all about moments, right? Football is all about instances. Hector Cooper, he didn't last long. He,
Mm,
he, he actually left. So once that kind of happened, it was a bit of a reset again. And so you start again. And,
mm,
I firmly believe that football, you can work your ass off, but it's all little moments. Everything else has to fall in line. And that's why it's important to keep working your ass off and being ready for that moment. And it's been proven so many times in my career and everyone else's. Um, and on the contrary, when I wasn't ready, it didn't work for me. But I think the following season, I think that season, Hector Cooper took a lot of young players with him, but then he didn't last the full season and he left. So the following season, when probably was my time to join the first team, there was no foundation for that. So the new head coach came in and I don't think they took any young players. And
yeah.
that was kind of one thing that Italy wasn't great at when my time was there, was bringing through the youth. But it did happen 4 or 5 years later, which is great to see it finally happen.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
And so was it a loan move or a full transfer? How do you then make it to your next club in Italy?
Yeah, that's the fun part, right? So I went to the Olympics that year,
Yep.
and I had a great seat. Like I was a leader. I'm sure I can't remember if I was, but I was a leader of the team. If I wasn't captain, I was informally. I can't remember, but I was a leader in the team. The coach used to call me his lighthouse, and played every game. Even when I was injured, the coach is like, I had an ankle injury towards the end of the season in the final series. And he's like, I need you to play. We've got to do everything you can. So I'd play with my ankle and went to the Olympics, played, every match there. And I just thought, you just think, I got this. So someone's going to pick me up in the Serie B on loan.
Mm.
Anyway, market opens and nothing, markets towards the end of it and the transfer market, nothing. I'm like, oh, geez, Anyway, it got to the last day and nothing still happened. And I'm calling my agent. I'm going, well, what's going on? And he's like, oh, we're working through a few things. And like, who are they? And he goes, oh, I can't tell you yet. I'll call you back. Anyway, I didn't hear from him. And the market's closed. So I'm either stuck at Inter or they found me a club. I knew nothing. Anyway, I get a call the next morning and I'm going to a team called Spal in Ferrara. And I'm like, I've never heard of them. Never heard of them in my life. I don't even know where they are. Um, anyway, they said, look, we struggled to find you anywhere. We came to an agreement with Spal in Serie C. Off you go. And I was a bit, disheartened because I had such a great season. Some of my other players that I played with who didn't play as much as me went into Serie B clubs. So I was a bit, disheartened. I was tired after the Olympics as well physically. And I ended up at this Serie C club and the coach had no idea who I was, no idea about my story. But the best thing was the coach was Massimo Allegri, who was coach of Juventus. So
Wow.
I met him. Anyway, that's a whole nother journey. That's where things got interesting because I was tired. I didn't have a holiday. So I
Mhm.
went straight into preseason after pretty much a big tournament, and he couldn't understand. He was like, "You're tired," and I didn't have the heart to tell him, I was tired. I just say, "No, no, I'm fine." So I pushed through for months and months, and it got to the 4 months in, and I wasn't getting any game time again. I was unhappy, and I don't know. There's a bit of a reset moment where I just said, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to give everything I got. If this doesn't work, I'm going to fight for everything this year and then see what happens. And I still had a contract with Inter. I still had another 2 years. So I said, I'll figure it out, but I've got to give everything 100%. Otherwise, if I just sit here, feel sorry for myself, I can't say that I've done it and given
Mhm.
it a full crack. So I just went hard at it and for a couple of months and nothing. I swear he'd take the piss out of me sometimes. Allegri would say to me, "Oh, you're looking good in training, Carl." and he'd send me up in the stands.
Uh-huh.
So he was testing me. And anyway, there was a time where I was working my ass off, regardless. I just thought, this guy's testing me. I'm going to prove him wrong. There was a game up against Cittadella where he had basically a choice between me or the reserve goalkeeper. He had to play one of us in midfield. So I thought, I'm in with a chance here. Anyway, I wasn't still sure until my name was listed, and I could feel there was a bit of
How good was the footwork of the reserve goalkeeper?
yeah. Well, I could feel there was a bit of anxiety around it,
Okay.
and his job was on the line too at that time. We weren't performing, but I was confident because I knew I've been training hard, so I came into the team and I did my thing. And I didn't score a goal, I didn't stop, but he saw what I was. And after the match, I remember him saying, "Oh, now I understand you as a player." And I didn't miss another game. I played every game after that, and he took me to my next club, Grosseto. So he went to Grosseto, and I was the first person he called to come to Grosseto. So Allegri took me to Grosseto, where I established myself as a player and as a leader in Italy. We took the team up into Serie B.
That was going to be my next question. Like,
Yeah,
what's it like? I mean, playing for a club that, has that, the township's following and then getting promoted. That must feel like
it's the best.
at a different level, right?
It's the best. So the club had never been into Serie B. So, we failed a couple of years before that. We struggled. We just missed out. We lost the final. I think we lost two finals to go up, and then we won it direct. I scored the winning header. I remember we had to win.
Oh, wow.
We had to win
You didn't
the
score
game.
many goals in your career,
No, I
right? So
didn't.
it's
But
still winning header. What does
yeah,
that feel like? Do you feel like that you can zap your mind back into that moment, the feeling of the
uh,
ball hitting your head and euphoria after it hitting the net?
yeah, it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable feeling, especially you could see what it meant for everyone around. I mean, it's a big step for everyone financially,
Hmm.
just to have an accolade like that. You're going to be part of history, and it was the best. It was a great feeling. We worked so hard to get to that point, and it's a small club. It's not a big club.
Hmm.
So to do that, and then after that, we actually almost got into Serie A. So a
Okay.
couple of times we lost the playoffs to go up into Serie A as well. So we were
Oh,
so close. Yeah, we fought so hard.
so good
Um,
football. Good football. Obviously, played club yourselves.
yeah, yeah, we did. But we had a good team too. The team was very well drilled. We at that time we started playing really well. Pioli came to Grosseto, so we had
Sorry, who?
Pioli, so Stefano Pioli, so
Okay.
the one who was at Milan, who just left Milan now. So he came to Grosseto, and I was lucky enough to be coached for him for a couple of years and some successful years there. And luckily enough, Pioli, and you can see a bit of a pattern here because of the type of player I was. Pioli actually took me to Sassuolo. So
Oh,
coaches and Allegri, when I remember, this is moments in your career, right? Moments in your career. Allegri went from Grosseto, he went to Cagliari in Serie A.
uh-huh.
And again, I was one of the first players he calls to come. But it's moments in your career, right? Grosseto knew I was a player that he would want, so they put a heavy price tag on me, and
Okay.
I wasn't able to move. So what are you to do as a player? You're not in control of your own destiny, and you had to control the controllables, and that's what I did, as hard as it was.
So the literally was the price tag on the transfer that stopped that
Yeah,
Serie
because
A.
Cagliari didn't want to pay it, and um, Grosseto weren't willing to lower their price tag.
Mm.
And as a matter of fact, the dynamics of it are that I was coming out of contract. So they said to me, well, if you want to keep playing at the club, sign this contract. And I held out as long as I could. But, I had the World Cup coming up I wanted to be
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
that I missed out in 2006,
yeah.
which I was a bit upset about because I was one of the only few young players in Europe playing and didn't get picked. But the 2010 World Cup was now coming up, and I wanted to be a part of it. So
Yeah.
I had to make a choice between, big. They lowballed me, and I had to accept. I had no other option,
Yeah.
which was terrible by them. But that's just business, isn't it? Now, as you get
I
older,
know.
Yeah. So I accepted it, but then got the move to Sassuolo anyway, where Pioli was, because my agent said, "All right, we accept the lower contract, but this is the buyout clause." And yeah, went to Sassuolo on the back of that.
The you're also we're sort of weaving. We're now roughly at the time zone that you were part of that Asian Cup
Yeah.
win. So now we're sort of at this. I think we're around that time that you now it's
Well,
like
we're
you missed out
2000.
on the World Cup. You missed out on the '06 World Cup. You played in 2010, and then obviously the success at the Asian.
2011, yeah. So
Yeah.
we lost the final. We lost the grand final in the Asian Cup. But before that, I was part of the '07 World Cup, Asian Cup as well, which was a frustrating time because, yeah, I didn't play a minute, and I just felt like, it was a bit of a waste. I feel like that was our first AFC Cup, Asian champion, Asian, yeah, was it Asian Cup? That was our first Asian Cup, and we kind of misfired there. We had a great team in the Socceroos, but we didn't fire. We call it as it is.
Mm.
And then, but that kind of allowed me to be part of the Socceroos setup, and I established myself slowly, and right up until that, Pim Verbeek came in, and yeah, what a ride getting into that to the World Cup team.
Mm.
And yeah, that was probably a great period in my career, and for me and my family.
Football's about levels, and so you're at club and you're performing a year or two above your peers, and then you go with AIS, and now you're at the level, and then you go to Inter, and you realise the differential. So when I talk about the levels of football, and then you get selected with the best players the country offers, and there's three other players that can play your exact position.
Mm.
What is that feeling like? Is it so you just try and focus on getting yourself right mentally, knowing that you may or may not contribute on a particular fixture? You talked about that, that roller coaster ride of being a footballer. That doesn't always support you. So walk me through that, because I think it's not really spoken about amongst
Mm.
the professional league or any conversation.
Yeah, I think again, it's about, yeah, you've got to be realistic. You've got to be realistic with yourself. You've got to understand, I think, your strengths and your weaknesses. And I think that's not saying, oh, I'm terrible terrible at long balls, or my left foot's terrible. I'm not saying being negative on yourself, but understanding, okay, well, my physical capacity is what makes me good. How do I maintain that and slowly improve that? How do I make sure I'm able to work my ass off for the team every day? Okay, well, I've got to do X amount of running. I've got to stay fit, essentially. I've got to be strong. I've got to do my strength work. Okay, tick. Okay, but technically, I've got to be better. How do I improve that? So I've got to do my technique. So it's always a constant balance. And that understanding that is probably key, because you've got a roller coaster of emotions in football in general. You do well and then you don't play. It's always like that. It's never linear. It's
Yeah.
always like this. So to understand that, you've got to control the controllables, and controlling the controllables means, okay, well, I'm good at this, so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm not going to all of a sudden, Carl Valeri is not going to start dribbling players, because that wasn't my strength.
Yeah.
So when someone says, oh, you need to do more to play, well, okay, now I can define more. So I need to work harder on my strength and make that a core part of my game, but make sure that is supported by what I'm not good at. So keep that work going.
Yeah.
And complement the two. Yeah.
Right?
So you can't, no coach expected me. I was never going to play because I dribbled 10 players. If anyone accepted that, then they shouldn't pick me in the first place. But what a coach wanted me to do was do my role and do it well for the team. Now I knew the other midfielders were better than me, But I knew they wouldn't work as hard as me, and I knew they wouldn't do the dirty work. So I rolled up my sleeves and I did the dirty work.
So you would have played at a time, obviously, that tracking and sports statistics and sports science is very much in the mix. So talk to me, like on an average, let's say A-League fixture, the people who would have seen you play on a week in, week out basis and the success of victory, what kind of Ks are you putting out in 90 or 95 minutes?
Look, in a game where we control, anywhere kilometers would be 12. In a game where it was a bit open and a bit, kind of end to end, and probably where we didn't control the game, I'd do 13 plus kilometers a game.
Wow.
High intensity would be looking above that 2 to 3 Ks of high intensity. So
wow. Yeah.
That's why I retired early. Everyone said, "Why do you retire? You should have played on." I couldn't do that anymore. So if you can't do that anymore, then what's the point?
Yeah.
And I think, but yeah, definitely understanding the type of player you are and having your identity allows you to self-reflect. And I think self-reflection in football is sometimes overlooked, especially by outside influencers saying, "No, you're good, you're the best, you need to be playing." But as a player, deep down inside, I knew at that Asian Cup where I wasn't playing, I probably don't deserve to play. These guys just came off the back of a Super World Cup and killed it. I've got Grella in front of me, got Jason Colina. They're great players. Mark Bresciano in midfield. I mean, who am I to question that? And I didn't. And I didn't question it at the World Cup either. But I knew if I wanted to play, I had to work my ass off. And that's exactly what I did. Tim Verbeek rewarded me, and I played every match.
And so it seems like your characteristics, you're very loyal. You've either and these moves that either they cut your lunch at a particular transfer, but you're either loyal to the team or loyal to a coach that also rewarded you. And you talked about the influence of Ange in your youth career in Australia, and then obviously your time there at Victory. Is it that human connection that makes the leadership of Carl Valeri sort of flourish? What is that glue that makes that stick?
I think it just comes down to your values as a person.
Okay.
Like I said, probably at the start of the conversation, the biggest thing I had growing up was those family values and what's right, what's wrong, how to identify that, and where to identify that, and what makes something work and what makes something not work. So I was able to identify that from a young age, and naturally, if you can do it from a young age, as you mature, you get better and better at it. And towards the end of my career in Italy, I lost that feeling. I went to Ternana for 6 months. I was at Sassuolo, right? And I had that feeling. I really did have it. And I wasn't getting game time. And it was funny. I remember sitting down with Di Francesco before I left. And he goes, we had great players. This was winning Serie A at the time. And we had good players. Like you're talking the best young players there are in Europe at Sassuolo at the time. And he's like, "Carl," he goes, "I want to find a way to play you. I don't want you to go." And this was before I went to Ternana. And I said, "Look, I want to stay. I'll be honest. I want to stay. Okay, but I need to play."
Yes.
And I know that, and I would never say that to you, that I need to play here. I know you would play me if you think I could make the team better. But I'm not playing, and that's okay. But I said, I want to go to the World Cup. So I've got to go and try and play. Because the 2014 World Cup was coming up and Ange was coach, and I hadn't been involved because I wasn't playing.
Okay.
So I took that risk. It was an educated risk, and it backfired on me because I went to Ternana. It was the wrong move for me, but I needed to make that move because I wanted to go to the World Cup. And I was loyal to my country. But what it did make me realize is, okay, I'm at a time in my career where I don't really feel like going to another club in Italy just because I've been at the best. For me, Sassuolo was great. It was awesome. It was perfect. But I needed that belonging feel. So that's where started speaking about, okay, where can I get that in Australia? And Victory was the first name that came to me. I spoke to Kevin Muscat, and I was impressed. I just thought, this is someone I want to work with. And then I spoke to Anthony Di Pietro, who was the chairman at the time, and still obviously heavily involved at the club. And I just thought, this is, I just saw, 10 years into my life, I said, this is the club I'm going to be at for the rest of my career. So, and it's all about those feelings, those values you're taught about when you're younger, that connection piece. I've always been privy to that gut feeling, which is not really a gut feeling. It's just you knowing between what's right and what's wrong.
Mm. Mm.
And I had that feeling when I spoke to everyone at Victory, everyone.
And so you make the move to Victory, and I think in the first year you guys won the championship. Was it the first year that you came in, or was it the year after?
We won everything. Yeah, we won the premiership and the championship. We won both. It was a great season. We had a great team. I think it was a perfect mix.
And does it feel like yesterday? So now we're coming on 10 years. Does it feel like yesterday you're talking on, and you're doing the press release that you're coming back to Australia to play for Victory?
Yeah, it does. It's crazy to think about it. It was 10 years ago. But I'm still, I think I caught up with dinner with Broxy just on Saturday. I spoke to Bess the other day. Speak to Faid regularly. Matthew Del Piero, I'm still in touch with. Millsy, I still speak to. So, you build the best thing about football, and what you probably don't realize when you're younger at the time, especially when you win something, the best thing about winning something, everyone thinks the best thing about winning something is taking a photo with the trophy and posting it on Instagram or whatever they post on now. But, those all dissipate over time. What was great for me, whenever I won something, and I had I didn't win World Cups or Serie A titles, but I won a fair bit in my career. I was very successful in what I had to do on the smaller details. But I built connections with those people that last forever, and that's the best thing about it. You build these connections, and when you see each other, it's like it takes you back to that moment. There's no, oh, how come you didn't call? How come this? No, we did that together, mate. We don't have to speak to each other every day to give each other a big hug and talk about our lives and stuff like that. You built a strong connection that you got with someone, and that's with the young guys that were involved right up to the older guys. Like even when I still see Scotty Galloway and Jason Guerrier, who were young boys when I was playing, Andrew Naboot, who was young boys in that team. I see him, and we're connected over that. And that's the best thing about winning something, being part of something special.
Does it help? Because obviously Victory is one of the biggest supporter clubs in the country. Does it help having a fanatical supporter base?
Oh yeah, it definitely does. It can sometimes be the difference, because you get to a match, what people don't realize is you're training hard all week, you're working hard. So sometimes you get to the match, and especially when you're in your 30s, you're tired, you're cooked. Before you even get on the pitch, you're like, geez, I'm at 70% here. I need something, give me an espresso, give me a bag of lollies, give me something to get me going, and you get out there and you hear the fans, and there's your 30% extra right there.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. And when, things are going bad, you know what? They hold you accountable too. They're not just going to go, you played well 2 years ago, so I'm going to clap you now. No, they're going to probably boo you. They're probably going to whistle at you. And you know what? It's good, because then I can go, geez, training, I've got to lift my game. That's the whole self-reflection piece. So I love the fans. I think the fans of Melbourne Victory are the best. And I'm going to say potentially in Asia, just the way they support. Apart from the Japanese crew, which are just like unbelievable. They're just non-stop. But even then, I think ours are more emotionally attached with the way they support the team. Like, they're not just going to hear you because you did well 2 years ago. No, that's not the way it works. They want you to win. They're playing out there with you. They're leaving their heart out there.
Yeah.
So if they feel you're not doing well, they're going to let you know, and that's the way it should be.
a heavy shirt, then you would say.
Pardon?
Melbourne Victory is a heavy shirt.
Oh, 100%. Oof, yeah. Not everyone can handle it. And that's okay. I don't hold it against anyone. It is a heavy shirt. There's expectations as soon as you come in. And, I say to people all the time, they're like, oh, what's the difference? And I go, well, Victory, you expect it to win.
Mm.
It's not, you don't come in and we go, oh, you know what? If you win, that's good. But if you don't, that's okay. Look, no, you
No.
expect it to win. So when you don't win, and it didn't. I mean, the feeling that we kind of drove as leaders, and I say we because it wasn't just me leading the team. There was Millsy, there was Bess, there was Faid, there was Broxham, there was Adrian Leia, Matthew Del Pierre, there was Lawrence Thomas. Everyone was leading, and some more than others, but everyone led in their own individual way. And something that we drove is, okay, well, we're expected to win. We don't need to celebrate because we won. That's what we're out there to do. So we kind of, win a game and we come into the change room and we congratulate each other. We say, well done, well done. We did what we were meant to do. We designed this and we did it. Great. What's next? And that was that professional mentality, that kind of high performance mentality, which is good to have. And obviously when we won, we celebrated at the end. But yeah, most of the time during the season, we was just like, okay, we did what we had to do. What's next? Or how do we improve? And we picked apart our game. We're pretty
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a heavy shirt, and you've got to have that mentality. I feel if you singing a song after every game, like you've just that's not the way it is. We went out, we won because that's what we're meant to do. That's what was expected of us, and that's something that not everyone can come to grasp with. And we had some great players come in, we couldn't do it. The pressure was too much. They didn't perform to their best, and that's okay. But yeah,
you mentioned some great names. Was they'll be deceptively like I remember seeing on one of his FIFA stats, like I think his top score was like 43, but like on the pitch he seemed pretty quick. Like was it those big long legs or what?
Matthew Del Pierre.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a giant of a bloke.
Giant of a man, yeah.
He was just big 2 meters, big 2 meters tall, those legs going, but he's just very clever.
Okay,
very smart.
Build for me a five-a-side team with Miru's goals of Melbourne. Anyone from Melbourne Victory you played with? Who's in your five-a-side team? You've got to be in it.
Oh, he's got to be in it. I'll probably remove myself from this team.
No, you've got to be. You've got to pick members, so you've got to be in it. You're five-a-side, so you're playing five-a-side, so you've got to be in it.
All right. Well, I'll probably pick. I'll definitely pick Broxy because Broxy had similar characteristics to me, and I think I love that. I love it. And I got to see him. Came in early enough where I got to see him grow as a person as well, and we got along really well. So I picked Broxy. I'd have to put Matthew Del Pierre in there. That's 3.
Okay, you're definitely conceding now, right? Because you've covered enough ground, you've got enough defensive capability. So,
I'd go.
It's still goals for you.
I'd probably go with Bess. I'd have to go with Bess.
Okay.
And can I have a sub or what? Is it just 5-a-side?
So you've picked Brock.
I've got to pick a goalkeeper?
No, it's Miru's goals.
So players, no goals. I got Matthew, I got me, I got Broxy, I got Bess.
Yes, he got one more.
And I probably have to take Marco Rojas because
talent. There we go.
Yeah, he was one of the players that I really enjoyed playing with, and I hope he enjoyed playing with me because I used to just tell him, I'll do all the hard work for you, Marco. You don't have to worry about coming back. Come back in your own time and defend when you're ready, but I'll do it. I go, I don't care if you come get the ball off me from 2 meters, come get it because you can make the difference. And that was the relationship we had. And even to this day, I still see him and we've got a great connection.
Probably his best characteristics of being able to take somebody on one-on-one. Well, yeah, pretty.
He could do everything. He could He could keep it simple. He could dribble. He could stop the
Mm.
ball. He was fast. He was a special player. And you know what? I would have loved to have, if I could have had a bench, I would have had definitely Millsy on there. Millsy probably I'd put in front of me. Millsy, and
Oh, well, there you go. That's the problem with the football sides. Right? So,
and Fayed. I'm going to throw
oh,
Fayed in there.
yes. Oh, okay. Now, see, this is the problem. We're not making an 11, right?
Yeah, well, the only reason I didn't pick Fayed because he busts my balls all the time, Fayed. So
Okay.
I leave him out. Mm.
The obviously a special talent, and this is the thing you play. So the one question I didn't ask. So you obviously you've gone to Inter Milan, a big club. Everybody knows who they are. But then you go to the third division.
Mm.
What's the third division or the second division like in relation to, let's say, a top Melbourne derby, the quality of a Melbourne derby when both teams are at their peak? So where are we at? Are we at? Is it too hard to tell? I'm talking about the quality of the football. Is it third tier? Is it the middle third tier? Is it the bottom of the second tier? Where are we? Where would you say the quality of the overall talent in the dressing room?
Okay. Which point of the A League?
Your time. I would say your time because you made
My time?
it's around your time because it's your transition. So compared, let's say you're
I
playing.
think Melbourne Victory, that Melbourne Victory team that I was part of when I first came back, would have been a strong team in the Serie B.
Okay, so I'm talking about strong teams. So upper mid table. You're saying
Yeah, I think so. I
okay.
think so. I think they
And,
would have been.
and this is the interesting thing. Like I talk about this because I know you're involved now at Melbourne Victory, and obviously big expectations at a big club, but you're also involved at a grassroots level. And people at the level that I coach at, they knock the standard of the of the A League. And it's only when you speak to people who have gone and played, and then they say, "Oh, where do you think the A League is in relation?" Let's say, and it's typically you speaking to people of Anglo descent, and they talk about the four tiers in England, right? Um, and I find people who don't support the A League don't really understand the quality inherently and how hard it is to play.
Yeah,
There's a lot of kilometres covered. It's very aggressive. You have to be an athlete, and so the pace of the game simply means that a lot of overseas players who play in top European levels come here and then they struggle because
yeah.
the adjustment of the pace gets them.
Mm,
Technically, they're good, but if
mm,
the tempo's gone up 20%, right,
yeah,
then they're just gassed. They can't cope.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I think most A League clubs, and you're involved now on a board, you get your authorities wrong, right? And you really struggle on the pitch. Uh,
Yeah.
if they, based on
Mm.
the salary cap money, etc. But finding that balance, would you say that even today we talk about the fluctuations? Even you hinted, at what time in the A League would you assess? Would you say that overall, let's say since its inception, that's been underrated?
The A League.
The A League, yes, by
Underrated.
the public.
I think, this is my personal opinion. I think where we struggle, right, in Australia, where we compare, we always compare, right? It's human nature. We compare. So we compare ourselves. You look at AFL, right? AFL is the pinnacle. Yeah, it's the pinnacle because it only exists in Australia. Rugby league, arguably similar. Rugby union, not so much. But football, A League ranks, and I'm the first. Like I'm watching the Euros, going, these guys are unbelievable, right? Put that up against one of my matches from 2014, and it looks like I'm in slow mo because the levels of the level. You know, we're looking at the Premier League, we're looking at the Serie A, we're looking at the Championship, we're looking at the La Liga, we're looking at the Bundesliga. There's so many different leagues, and A-League's right down the bottom. Let's be honest. So we're always, you know, yeah, the A-League's good, but it's never going to be as attractive or entertaining as the Euros or, you know, the
Yes.
Serie A. So we've always got that comparison in the back of our mind. Is it underrated? I think it is, because it's a different dynamic. It's a different league. Like, you know, at the moment, there's no relegation. So it's end to end, because teams go, you know what, we're just going to play anyway. It doesn't matter. A lot of teams go, it doesn't matter if we lose, because we're not going to get relegated. So let's just attack. That mentality will change the moment there's relegation, because a
Yes.
draw is sometimes a point of gold. You know, you get a golden point, and that
Yes.
can be beneficial for your relegation battle. So that'll change. But fundamentally, yes, I do believe the A-League is underrated, primarily because we still compare ourselves to the other leagues. You know, and the bigger picture, Sasha, is for me, football in Australia is fragmented. We all work. It's very fragmented. You know, when you think about just Football Australia, the A leagues, APL, and then you've got each individual federation, state federation, the NPL clubs. Like, think about, it's a mess. There's a lot of good people involved. There's a lot of great players. The pathways are unclear. You know, I've got kids, and I'm unsure of the pathways. I'm like, I actually don't know. I don't know what the best move is here, for a friend of mine who's going through this situation. I can't tell you, mate. I actually don't know. And that's a difficult thing. That's where we shouldn't be at. Whereas the pathway in most sports, definitely in Italy, is very clear. So we need to get better at it, and I think that will help in the long-term perception of the A-League. You know, not many people know the A-League. Like NPL clubs, you know, rightly so. There's no need to promote the A-League. Why should they? They think they're the top of it, and in their own little world, they are. So how do we change the mentality? How do we change everyone's mentality? So we have this beautiful pathway that maybe goes up like this for players, has little branches coming off for those late bloomers, early bloomers, and, you know, the ones that mature when they're 25. How do we have a pathway that we're all working together? Because at the moment, let's be honest, we're fragmented.
Yeah.
No matter which way you look at it.
You know, I typically end each of my interviews with this question. You've mentioned it so many times, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You're now speaking to this, and it probably, so 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old player that's trying to, boy or girl, is trying to break into their first team. And that's probably the biggest jump, playing for a second team and then going into the first team. And I know you're going to say work hard, but what advice do you give to that person trying to break into the first 11 team at their club?
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, if it was a conversation, if you had to tell me, if you asked me to give you, you know, the class, I'd say work hard. That's it. But I guess if it was a conversation with this young person, I'd ask them a few questions. I said, well, what would you do to get into the first team? And, you know, I'd be interested to hear their answer. I said, well, what would you do? Like, what would you really do to get in the first team, and understand where they're at? Because I think, you know, a lot of players, they want to break into the first team and they feel they should be, but, you know, really their work ethic and is nowhere near it. And work ethic is key when you're young. And I'll tell you why, because, you know, you're young and you need that energy to complement, you know, the senior player. He may not bring that energy, but he's going to bring, you know, that standard base which a coach needs. So to break into that team, you're going to need to do something different. And your difference is going to be that energy, that intensity, and that relentless nature of heart, which is all surrounded by hard work. You know, I say hard work, but that involves, you know, being intense, being urgent, covering your teammates, winning the ball back, going that extra little bit which your teammates aren't prepared to do. That's hard work. And that's sometimes the gut-wrenching feeling where you feel like you're going to be sick. You got to push yourself to be, you know, push your body to the limits. And That's it. How if you said to me, I want to play in the first team, well, what are you prepared to do? You tell
Mm,
me what you're prepared to do. I want to know what you're prepared to do. If give me a list what you're prepared to do. I'm training every day. Okay, well, what are you training? How are you training?
mm,
Who's doing your training? What type of training are you doing? And
mm,
why are you doing that training? Okay, so why are you working on, your speed? Are you fast? Yes. Okay. How's your endurance? Oh, I'm not very good at that. So why are you just working on your speed? Let's work on your endurance. So I
mm,
think, you almost need a consultative approach and really ask those questions. If someone really does want to get better, you've got to be honest with yourself and you've got to come up with a training program. Okay, if you're prepared to train every day, how does that look? What are you doing? Your first touch. Well, my first touch is quite good. My dad really wants me to be says I should take everyone on. Okay, your dad says you should dribble more, but what does your coach want from me? What do your teammates want from me? Is that what you think you should be doing? Taking everyone on shooting because you think scoring goals is going to get you into the team. So asking questions like that to kids and kids, anyone listening to this should ask themselves. Okay, maybe you can investigate yourself. Ask those questions.
mm,
What am I prepared to do? Okay, I'm prepared to train every day because that's what they'll say. Okay, what are you going to do at training? What am I good at? What should I be working on? And what am I going to do to improve that? There's
mm.
probably some questions I'd ask myself. I did ask myself.
Fantastic words of wisdom. We touched on you obviously you've got co-roles as a director at Melbourne Victory. I'm sure you've got a lot of work ahead of you now for the upcoming season, and your work at your local Gisborne Soccer Club. So,
Yeah.
thank you for your continued contribution to Australian football. Over 50 caps for Socceroos and a handful of beautiful goals. So thank you very much, Carl.
No worries. Thanks for having me.